This is Chiliman-Rob coming to you with a new video. This video is where the recipe that we're doing is for Rob's famous homemade chili. Where I got my name, I started using Chiliman-Rob on my email, and it's when I had purchased a drive-in restaurant here in Idaho, and we serve burgers and milkshakes and stuff, and I wanted to create my own recipe of chili. And I started off with a recipe off of a can of beans or something, and then I just went with that and I tweaked it until I got the flavor that I wanted. Something simple that I could make in about half an hour, and it turned out to be a winner. And I started entering chili cook-offs, and the first one I did, I won third place. It was the first annual chili cook-off in Middleton, Idaho, and I won People's Choice. And then I started doing more contests. I didn't stick to the recipe every time, but I did stick to the recipe every single time in the drive-in. And from what I can remember of that recipe, I have here today all of the ingredients, and I will show you how I made Rob's famous homemade chili at Farm Boy Drive-In. And here we go. So I'll just tell you as I go what I'm putting in it. Turn on the pot and let it start getting hot. The first thing I do is I cut up my onion. I got one medium-sized onion. I got 2.5 pounds of ground beef, which is a perfect amount for anyone to do at home. The whole recipe is only going to take about 30 minutes, and then about 30 minutes of simmering time, hour at the most. This video won't even be that long, so here we go. I'm going to cut up my onion. Give me something to put the junk in. The onion goes in the pot. I'm going to use since I'm only using 2.5 pounds of ground beef, plus the rest of the ingredients. I'm using a medium saucepan, which is about 3 quarts. You don't need a big stock pot for this. Come on, onion. I'm going to switch knives. Okay, 1 whole onion. That goes in. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of bacon grease in there just to kind of help me brown the onion. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this meat in here on top, salt it, then the salt will bring out enough of the water, enough so that you don't need to add oil to brown the onions. And then we'll brown the onions and the hamburger together. Now I'm using Stone's ground beef, which is a pretty large company, well known for their quality meat. This is 80-20, which means it's 20% fat. You don't really want to use the leanest stuff. You got to have a little bit of oil in it, a little bit of fat. So I would have only used 2 to 3 pounds, depending on what, how many people you're cooking for. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some salt. Mix it up a little bit. Another thing I wanted to mention is I'm doing this with the least amount of money involved possible. Anybody can do this. I went to the dollar store. I've got all this stuff in my pantry already, but I went to the dollar store and I got everything here for $1 a piece. All these seasonings, except they were out of the garlic powder, so I got this. I've got all this stuff in my pantry. So, as you can see, $1, $1, can of beans is 79 cents. Tomato sauce is 39 or 49 cents each. So if you're on a budget, you can definitely do this. Very easy, very fast. The only thing that I'm straying from my original recipe is I like to put some fresh peppers in it along with the chili powder. So I use a little bit of jalapeno and a little bit of red bell pepper. So while that's browning, I'm going to cut this up. Then what I do on my jalapeno is I take the seeds and the veins out of it. Not everybody likes all that heat, and you never know how hot it's going to get when you use the jalapeno. So I cut that part out. and then I can control the amount of heat I put in it with the crushed red chilies. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of cayenne, because I like cayenne. I like a little bit more of a kick than what I used to serve to the public. Couldn't make it too hot because then half the people wouldn't have ate it. So when I make it for me, I put a little cayenne in it. That's the only other difference. The way I feel about it is, the more different kinds of peppers you mix into it, the better flavor you're going to get out of it. So that's where I'm at. This way so you can see. I started using red bell peppers a lot in a lot of my cooking. You couldn't always get them in the past, and I never really knew how good they were. But now that I have discovered red bell peppers, they taste nothing like green bell peppers. I use them a lot, so. So we're going to have some jalapeno, some red bells, some crushed red chilies, and some chili powder. We'll have that. Those are made from some kind of chili peppers. And this is just the cheapest stuff you can get in the store, which is what I used to use. Nothing special. I mean, nowadays you can get chipotle chili powder, and you can get all sorts of different stuff. But I'm just doing this on a budget, showing you the cheapest, easiest way to make a quick, delicious pot of chili. Okay, I'm going to stir up my pot. That's coming along real nice. Oops. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my fresh chilies while that's cooking, so they'll start to cook. Stir that up some more. Got this on a medium-high heat, about a number 8. Gonna put the lid back on it, let it heat up. Finish the browning process. Take about another 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and start putting the rest of it in. stir this up some more. Crank that up a little bit. Give it another couple of minutes. This recipe is so simple. I would do that part when I first got to the store in the morning, get the chili going, and while it was starting to cook, I start some of my other prep, like I'm doing now, or I'd cut my tomatoes or my onions or lettuce or whatever other cooking I needed to do for the day, for the lunch hour. Go out and make sure all the tables and chairs are clean and wiped down and the napkins are filled and all that kind of good stuff. All right. Stir it up again. So by salting this in the first process, draws the moisture out of the meat. You want that moisture in there, you don't need to strain it. It's all going to stay in the pot. Everything that you put in here is going to stay in here. Now, if you think you got too much in there, don't worry about it. But if you think you do, you can cook it with the lid off for a while and let some of it evaporate, which it will. You can cook it down with the lid off. Get me a drink of water. So again, this is one of the simplest recipes for making chili that I know. And when I make it for me, for my family, I had a dozen people over on Christmas Eve and I made a big pot of it, 10 pounds of meat. I had to bring in a big pot from from the garage. Then I use some different techniques and different ingredients, which we'll get into in a future video. But this is something that anybody can do in their kitchen with a small amount of ingredients. So here we go with the spices. First thing I put in is chili powder. And I put in about 1 tablespoon for each pound of meat. So I'm going to use 2 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of chili powder. I can always go back and add more, but you can't take it out, so start with a smaller amount and then add to it if you need to. 1 tablespoon of garlic. That's granulated garlic, and I actually didn't put the whole tablespoon in. I put in about 3/4 of it. 1 tablespoon of ground cumin. One tablespoon of crushed red chilies, a large heaping tablespoon, seeds and all. And a little bit more salt. Another 1/2 tablespoon of salt. And again, I don't recommend using iodized table salt, which is the cheap stuff that everybody buys for their salt shakers. I would get a good kosher salt. And this was still only $1 at the dollar store. Brand new dollar store right here in town, less than a mile away. Got all this stuff for $1. Okay, I'm going to stir that in. Turn that down, put the lid on, give it another 5 minutes to simmer. So I used all those. I'm going to start with 1 small can of regular old tomato sauce. Well, in this case, it's Mexican style tomato sauce. Gives it just a little bit extra flavor. That is looking good and smelling good. So easy. That is looking good and smelling good. So easy. Give that a couple more minutes. We'll stir this up again. Okay. Now I'm going to add the tomato sauce, and I am going to add a little bit of water. One small can of tomato sauce. And rinse out the can with about half a can of water, depending on how much you need. Stir it up. Bring that back up to a boil. Ooh, I like this new pot. It's working good. Look at how fast it came back up. Start with one can and then I'll taste it and then I'll decide if I want to put the second can in of the tomato sauce. I'm going to put the beans in. Now what I have here is, it's chili beans. It says right on the label, chili beans. And it is pinto beans with some spices and seasonings in it that helps the overall flavor of the chili. Let's see what we got here. It probably won't say, but just says seasonings. Okay. The beans are going in. Okay, mix that up real good. Turn it down to a simmer. Then we're going to give that about 20 minutes. Can put a little bit more water in. Okay, we're going to give that 20 minutes to simmer, and it should be just about done. Then we'll taste it. See if it needs any more seasonings. If it does, then at that point we'll put more seasonings in. So I'm going to take a break, and then I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. Let that thing simmer for about 20 minutes. Now I'm going to do a little taste test on it. See how it turned out. And decide if it needs anything else. We'll turn this down. Now, a couple of points that I want to make. If you like a lot of beans, you can put another can of beans in it. I never used to like beans, any beans, growing up, but I feel like it's part of the recipe, and I wanted it to be kind of a traditional recipe, so I put some beans in it. I don't like to overdo it. I put a lot of meat in it. You can put more beans in it if you want, and you can switch up what kind of beans. You can put pork and beans in it. You can try different things, but this is the standard recipe for Rob's famous chili. Now we're going to taste it and see how it turned out. Pretty good. Not too spicy, not too sweet. If you like it more tomatoey, you can definitely add the other can of tomato sauce. There's a little bit of heat in the back of my throat right now, so it's definitely spicy enough. Takes a minute to hit you. I think it's perfect. So, cut down. When you serve this up, you want to serve it with some fresh diced onions, especially if you're having guests. And I like to mix a couple of different kinds of onions. It's like with the chilies. It always tastes better if I use some regular yellow onions. Mix it with some green onions, and if I have red onions, I put them in too. So we'll just chop up some onion. Mix them up in a bowl. A little bit of green onion. Give it some color, just like that. Then normally if you're having guests, you give them the option, serve the onions on the side. Give them some grated cheese. I should have had the cheese already grated, but I don't. Now I'm going to show you the presentation. Stir this up a bit. It looks a little bit greasy on the top, but if you keep stirring it, it's not really that much. Ready to go. Serve that up like that. bit of cheese on top. A little bit of onion. And there you go. One last thing, you want to serve it with some crackers or some tortilla chips. I like these. You can use the regular saltines. I like these minis. And you just put them around your dish there, and then you can put them in as you eat it. There you go. Rob's famous homemade chili. I'll give you a close-up. There you go. Ready to devour. Okay, I think that's it for today's video. I hope I didn't forget anything. Try it out, see what you think. And we'll see you on the next one. Go ahead and turn it off and let it cool down.